Turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking on the freedom land. Ain't gonna let injustice turn me around, turn me around. No, turn me around. Ain't gonna let injustice turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up the freedom land. Ain't gonna let discrimination turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Gonna let discrimination turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up the freedom land. Ain't gonna let no hatred turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no hatred turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching.
To We Believe Digital Studios in downtown Jackson, Mississippi. We are live with Sizzling in Mississippi, Black Woman and White Man at the Crossroads. And man, oh man, do we have a show for you tonight. Look, just start out. All eyes on thee, Jackson State University. Changing minds, changing lives since 1877. Got my producer backing me up on all these things, but we are so delighted, winning a second SWAC championship in a row under Coach Deon Sanders, and co-host Maati. Yes. Man, oh man, we got to talk about it.
Yes, we do.
What do you? I mean, everybody's got something to say about Deon is moving on.
He is, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sad to see him go. I thought he would be with us a lot longer. Mm-hmm. When he would say JSU, the I love, I thought love was a little bit longer.
Okay.
Feel like I got left at the I or something. At the
I believe. He would say I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
I wish we could have paired his I Believe up with We Believe Digital Studios.
Yes, indeed.
But not enough time.
Not enough time. Yeah. 2 seasons of glory, but, for me it was more than football. Mm-hmm. It was what Coach Prime brought to Jackson, a sense of hope in times when we have, sewers overflowing, water problems galore, potholes and high crime, but we had Coach Prime, and it seemed as though he was going to be our Moses out of the wilderness.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, and in so many ways, he really have. I mean, to say, how do you even quantify the impact on our community,
right?
And really in the state, how do you? It's just impossible to quantify how much he helped us elevate.
Right. I mean, because we did elevate monetarily with tourism, but beyond that, just the spirit of Jackson was reignited. It was a wonderful thing.
Little spring in the step.
Yes.
A little extra swagger.
Yes. Yeah, I would get calls from people out of state, and talking about Jackson State, and I have such a history with Jackson State. I never attended Jackson State, but my grandmother substitute taught there, and then she taught at the neighboring school, Campbell College, which is no longer in existence, but there is a building on Jackson State's campus that's named after Campbell College.
Okay.
I have a cousin who graduated from JSU, and when I was in college, the only college T-shirt I ever wore was from Jackson State. And it said, happiness is being at Jackson State.
Yeah.
And people would come up to me at my college and say, what, are you unhappy here? And I said, I'm just happier at Jackson State.
There you go.
You.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, as on Saturday during the game, I was sitting up in the cheap seats.
Yes.
And because that's where it's at. That's where all the
all the fun.
That's the real fun, and just the love, and a lot of people too feeling, I think, maybe somewhat disconnected, like everybody kind of just knowing, that he's gonna bow out, and yet so much love and so much singing. Every single song the band was doing, and songs that you just don't hear all the time, but everybody knows by heart. And I'm trying to learn, being a newcomer down here, and it was just it was just a wonderful time. I don't think anybody wanted to end. I don't know how long the tailgating went on afterwards, but according to some reports, Prime was already. By the time the tailgating ended, he was already touching down in Colorado.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's short distance warriors and there's long distance warriors. So when I think of long distance warriors, I think of people like George Washington Carver at Tuskegee University, at that time Tuskegee Institute, and he committed himself not only to the institution, but really to the uplift of black people. And he did it through Tuskegee Institute. He was offered $150,000 a year by Thomas Edison and also by Henry Ford.
That money's unthinkable in those days.
Oh, right. Nobody made that type of money. Yeah. And he turned it down because he was so committed to his mission. And by doing so, he's legendary.
Right.
We will never forget George Washington Carver. He's taught in schools outside of Mississippi, because we might feel a certain way that might interfere with critical race theory, but he's honored and he's remembered. He made his transition, I believe it was in 1943, but still to this day, almost 100 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
And with Coach Prime, I mean, there's so many emotions. I know the mayor was speaking earlier to one of the TV cameras, and he said, it's just so many thoughts, but so many emotions really about this, because to transform, in 3 years to go, and not that the Tigers, the JSU Tigers, hadn't risen to the top prior, because they had in different years.
Absolutely.
It isn't the first time to win the championship, but it's been a long time.
It has.
And so to come back and do it 2 times, win the championship 2 times in a 3-year period, just phenomenal. Kids this tall are gonna be remembering that, and really amazing stuff, and some of the sadness. It's almost in a way too. It's kind of like the balloon that somebody put the needle on the balloon and just kind of sucks the life out of you for a minute,
right?
And then you're just left with other thoughts and all,
right?
And see some chats here. Mr. Williams, right, great job. But truth be told, he came to JSU to build up his coaching resume. Very, I've heard that many. Thank you, Mr. Williams. Heard that many times. Maybe there's some truth to that. I mean,
he didn't have a resume.
He didn't have it before.
Right, he didn't. Now he has one. He's taken it to a school less than stellar football program, Colorado, but he's taking with him 10 or 11 players from Jackson State.
Yeah. So I heard somebody said earlier, just 30 minutes ago, somebody said, those guys have to decommit in order to go with him and might not be available in the Celebration Bowl.
Well, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that will be that'll be a hurting thing for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they're not, because you're talking about the best players.
The very best players. Thank you for joining the chat, Mr. Williams, and everybody. You know the list with Sizzlin' in Mississippi is the list. We hope you like the program. We hope you subscribe to the program so you get your notifications, reminders that we're coming up. And we hope you share with your friends and let people know that we're out here and we're really trying to do the deal. And if you're able, please donate, send stars. All this all this comes with expense, and so we want to be able to defer that as much as possible. Otherwise, it just comes straight from the owner of the studio. So please do that.
Yes.
Yeah, and our call-in number too is 1-800-492-5186. I was thinking, Monty, not only does he now have a winning resume, yeah. Sometimes we see coaches at the highest levels, and the difference between their win record and their loss record is minute.
Right.
Sometimes even technically a losing record, and
right.
They're still getting a massive head coaching job.
Right.
And yet they have a long record of coaching, but Coach Prime. So now he's got on his resume not only a winning record, but two SWAC championships.
Right, he does, and that's a wonderful thing to have on a resume. SWAC historically has contributed greatly to professional football.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think about Coach Eddie Robinson and all of this, the head coach of Grambling State University, and how, what was he there for 42 years coaching?
Yeah.
That type of commitment.
Right.
I love it, and I know that it just does so much for a community to have someone so steadfast.
There's a it kind of cuts both ways, because there's this part of me that thinks that, just like you're saying with Coach Robinson, that you're a leader of, of course, predominantly young men, and that means something, that you've made that commitment to stay there. Right. And at the same token, pardon me, isn't there another side too that says that says, well, I'm the only one that's going to promote me and get ahead. Mm-hmm. And so for Coach Prime to leave the HBCU and go to Colorado, isn't he also leading by demonstrating for people that, that's what, like the used car there's a certain percentage of used car salesmen want to become a car dealer. Right. There's a certain amount of loan officers at the bank that want to become the bank president. True. So we don't begrudge those people for doing that.
No, I think when I put it in the context of that, I see what you're saying. Yeah. When I put it in the context of mission work, then it's something else.
It is. It's deeper.
It's much deeper. Many are called, but few are chosen. Yeah. And it's something about that. I think that when we look at it, people like Martin Luther King and Medgar Evers and Malcolm X, and they had a mission. But oddly enough, they weren't the first ones to see the significance of what they were doing. Others told them, this is significant. Right. This is your life's purpose. God has given this to you to do. Yeah. And when you have that type of mission, you stay the course until God says. And also against the backdrop of what's going on here, what's gone on in this city. Yes. With the white flight that Right.
from decades ago,
Right.
leave the city with a depleted tax base, cost of everything still going up. Everything is just, the city is just slighted in every possible way, and against that we had this rising star.
Yes.
This something to be really proud of. I know I'm still going to be proud of Jackson State and all they do, and I'm going to be proud of this football team,
Right.
and yet it's probably not going to be the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll never be trusting again that the next great coach will stay.
Well, I grew up in New England, and so the professional sports teams. I mean,
Yeah.
Patriots, Red Sox, Bruins,
Yeah.
and Celtics. Obviously, those are my teams growing up. And when I was growing up, we were lucky to have. We were lucky. The Patriots were lucky to have a 500 year.
Yes.
And then along comes this next to the last pick in the 6th round of the draft, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, the 6 Super Bowl banners hanging up in the Gillette Stadium.
Yes.
And then he leaves.
Yeah.
And then and I remember people ask me, well, are you just going to become a Tampa Bay Bucks fan? No, I'm not going to become. I mean, that's been my team my whole life. I'm not
Right.
going to change now.
Yes.
Do I watch and see what Tampa does? Yeah, I do. But come Sunday when the Patriots are playing, I'm all over that.
Right.
And they are at a 500 record right now,
Yeah.
and I root for them every game.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's so many ways to look at this. Hey, Monty, we got I didn't want to miss this. Oh my goodness, Thea Irby got a comment from Prime has the right to make his decision to move on. He gave JSU new facilities for football. Yes, and also with some of his own money, he did that. I hope JSU can keep up the wins. It is time for him to elevate to places where there are no black coaches. Oh, almost like another dimension of thought here.
Yes.
Because I was sharing with the producers earlier, and I love talking to them because they will point out things that I haven't thought of and so forth, and and the topic came up about leadership, and I just said this term, in a manner of speaking, racially speaking, he's diving into the belly of the beast.
Yeah. I mean, and we've seen what integration has done and what it hasn't done.
True.
The promise of integration really hasn't been met. We have more of a delusion than we have anything else. A dissolving away of certain things, like looking at Ferris Street.
Right. Right.
Yeah, what that does.
And do you think? I mean, we're not psychics.
Right.
I'm not a psychic.
Okay.
You're not a psychic?
No.
So we don't know for sure. But I mean, could that be, especially being that he is so spiritual,
Okay.
is that possible that that's part of his decision? We certainly know 300,000 versus 5 million
Yeah.
is and then he turned around and donated half of that back to the school.
Yeah.
We know that's a big change, but is it possible that he's taken on an even higher leadership dimension and trying to say, I did this here with my people.
Yes.
Now I'm going to go where my people are few, and I'm going to try and do the same thing there and bring everybody along. Does that even come into your thought on it?
No.
No. Okay. All right.
Really, it just doesn't. There's strength in numbers.
Yeah.
And there's strength in building up historically black colleges and universities.
Mm-hmm.
And I just believe in strengthening them.
I do too.
Yeah. I think 2 years, 3 seasons, 3 seasons just isn't enough. The work is still there. It hasn't been completed. I don't think it will be complete by being in Colorado, even if everything goes great. Even if Colorado's previous record of 1-11 flips over and it's
Yeah.
11-1. I don't know that all of a sudden we'll get black coaches in the Pac-12? And even if we do, what does it mean? What are we still doing about historically black colleges and universities?
Right.
Yeah.
And despite the millions and millions that have been contributed to HBCUs even in the last decade or so,
Yeah.
we know that the slight was going on for so long,
Right.
deprived for
Right.
the
Absolutely.
others.
Yeah.
And one of our listeners, Mr. Williams, again, he's like you just said, 1-11 Colorado Buffaloes. Haven't done much since Cordell Stewart back in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But look at their facilities. They put over $100 million. Wow. Laid the foundation for another coach who's younger. They already got Coach Prime's picture on the wall out there, mounted on the wall out there.
Okay. Yeah.
Already.
Yeah. Money's one thing, progress is another.
And here comes another thought, Monty. Mr. Lewis, he will never get a head coaching job in the SEC, Southern Powers.
Right.
Does he know that? Is that for real?
Well, Auburn could have taken him, but they didn't.
They did not.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my thing is, so what? You
Right.
know what I mean? Like,
Right.
if you don't want me in a place, I don't have to go there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there we go for the first segment. We thank you for joining in. We're glad you're here. We're trying to let you know more about what's sizzling in Mississippi, and we'll got a couple of commercials, and then we'll be right back with you.
Let's read and learn together. Meet Mason. Written by Sherry Tate. Illustrated by David. Mason is a young, inspired learner. Walk with him as he uses his 5 senses to explore the world around him. Your young one can learn to identify shapes, numbers, letters, and more with Meet Mason. Available now on Amazon.com.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippilink.com and click on Home Delivery.
And welcome back to Sizzling in Mississippi on We Believe Digital Studios platform. And we are so grateful for evangelist Sherry Tate sharing her book with us, the Meet Mason book. I have 2 copies of that, and one is destined for the Norfolk area of Virginia, and the other one is destined for Indian Head, Maryland. And also, the Mississippi, We Believe Studios has a long partnership with the Mississippi Link newspaper, now celebrating 30 years of continuous publication. So many print newspapers are folding over time in this country, and the Mississippi Link is 30 years and running, publishes weekly. Also, the entire newspaper available to you online. Just go to themississippilink.com, push the e-edition button, and boom, you'll be looking at the entire newspaper. Subscriptions are very reasonable. We hope you subscribe. So, Mahati, segment 2. Mm-hmm. I got privy to a message that was sent online by somebody earlier today. And it has to do with the racial side of what's going on in Colorado. So I wanted to share that. This came from I don't know who it was intended for, but it came from somebody named Greg, how you say that, Pigot?
Priggett?
Piggott?
Yeah.
Okay. And he says, here is a quote from my friend who is a black female who lives in Greeley, Colorado. She isn't a big sports fan, but she was very honest when I asked her about Prime. Quote, I wouldn't say Colorado as a whole is racist, but there are some parts of the state that are not very welcoming to minorities, especially black people. Colorado University, Boulder, in particular, is actually a pretty racist university, as well as the city of Boulder. A lot of us who were still in college chose to steer clear of Boulder for that reason. Even a lot of my white peers decided not to go to CU because of that. Yeah, and it's not the best place to go. TBH. TBH. To be honest. See, there goes my age again. I think CU only hired him to try and get some diversity and attention to the school because they know CU isn't a top pick for minority students coming to the college in Colorado. They either chose CSU or Northern Colorado. Yeah, if you ask me, I think he shouldn't have taken the position at CU. I know nothing about the guy, but CU is definitely not a place you want to work as a minority. And honestly, there's a lot of racist people on both sides in Boulder. Mm-hmm. Majority of the people that live there are rich and are very snooty, and look down on others who aren't like them. Yeah. Interesting. From a black female, I suppose beyond college age now.
Yes.
But certainly in the know.
Yes.
I know I have an older brother that lives in the suburbs of Denver, and I've only visited him once out there. I've been to Denver twice, but I visited him once out there, and but it was just sticking close to the family. Then we went up in the mountains, did camping. I definitely didn't see any black people when I was up in the mountains doing camping. Yeah. And when it was time to crawl into the tent at night, it was the time with me and my little, at the time, 8-year-old daughter, was the time he chose to tell me about the bobcats up in the mountains in Colorado. Yeah. I didn't sleep for 5 straight minutes all night long.
I don't blame you. Yeah.
But what do you think of that? It's one comment from a person.
Right.
But certainly gets you thinking.
Right. Deon may be able to overcome that. They may render him a special status, so to speak. But the players, they won't escape the racism. He may escape it.
You can't be at the stadium 24/7.
Right.
You got to be living your life out somewhere.
Right. Mm-hmm. What happens then?
Mm-hmm.
What happens if they date interracially?
Mm-hmm. Targets.
How would that be looked at?
Maybe targets.
Yes.
Got some other comments coming in. Deon said he was about the culture, and like the Blues Brothers, he was sent on a mission from God. Well, the Blues Brothers completed their mission. They got the money to the tax assessor. Did Deon complete, Mr. Lewis? Did Deon complete the mission? He was sent on by God. Did Deon complete the mission? He was sent on by God. Okay. I feel like I missed one up here, Joan. And
how can you expect coaches to stay when if they have a 1 to 3 bad seasons, they're fired? Yeah.
That got to factor into the decision making too.
Right.
You know what I hate to reduce it to, but I don't know if it's that mature to even say this, is the whole concept of people have to do what's best for them and what they feel is in their best interests. Don't we all?
I don't do that. But I don't. I don't do that. So it's hard for me to say that about other people. I've sacrificed so much, and I don't mind doing it. It's actually a pleasure.
Okay.
You know, it really is. Yeah.
Well, like you didn't have to come down here and take this store.
Right. And when I did, I thought that I would live here for 3 or 4 years, and then I would go back where I came from, and, you know, and then maybe just keep the store going, hire some people to run it, and then just come down, you know.
But you fell in love.
Yeah, the people are so sweet here. It's like everybody's born with a sugar cube on their forehead. They are just, I mean, the most loving people in the United States. I can really say that.
Yeah.
And so since I've been here, I've been able to do some things that I only dreamed of doing.
Right.
You know, I started working on cases of people who were wrongfully convicted, and being able to, with the help of many people, get people set free. You know, we got not exoneration, we got a stay of execution for a man the day that we found out 7 days before he was going to be executed. And we worked real quickly, and the day he was to be executed, they gave him a stay. Now, normally what they do is they make him kind of suffer. You know, they take the death march and they put him in the chamber, and then they get a call from the governor. That didn't happen. Several hours before he was scheduled for death, they called it. The governor called it.
You can't forget something like that.
Right. And so when I see, you know, that, you can't pay for the feeling that gives you. If you wrote me a check for $1 million, it would not have been that. Yeah. It could not have measured. Red bottom shoes, none of it, you know, can measure to being with people who appreciate what you do, and you do the right thing, and it works out, and you keep working, and you keep working, and you keep working, and you help people, and that's where it's at.
It makes all the difference.
It really does.
Kim Lewis says he went to a racist place, the money of the family will place those positions. Okay. And, whoops.
Said something about University of Mississippi.
University of Mississippi, like that too, once upon a time. And then I think JSU done well, but I'm not one to say where he goes. I'm not sure why, but it's not my place. I'm happy for the guy, and if it's his life, so it's prime time. Good point. Mr. Matori, Norway, the situation at HBCUs is different. We could betray the loving people of Mississippi.
Yeah. Who could betray the loving people?
Who could?
Yes.
Who could?
Yeah.
Good point. And ma'am, from Mr. Lewis, ma'am, you're on point. You're on point, and that's why there is such an outcry. Yeah. Name of God, about invoking the name of God. Everyone is say God said, but we fall for that. But until we take care of our community as a whole, that's where we can stop. That's where we can stop looking.
Yeah.
Things that don't help us as a people. Yeah. So it is deep, and it makes total sense that everything is just unsettled right now, and people got so many thoughts and so many emotions.
Yeah.
It's just so deep, and it's not going to go away overnight.
No.
But when you think of everything that this city's been through, and somehow, some way, is still somehow barely, some days just barely, but standing on its feet.
Yeah.
you know, and I can't help. I was talking to a former mayor of Jackson on the phone today, and we were talking about a certain subject, and again, he brought up the water, you know, and it you know, Jackson is just holding on, you know, and now we have the feds.
Yes, coming in.
Taking over the water. Now the feds aren't going to take over the Jackson State football, but you know, but there's so much, and with the racism and the oppression and the slighting by the state government.
Yes.
You know, I'm one of those. I don't know if it's a popular thought or not, but I'm one of those, Mati, where I think that the feds, the key people in the Fed positions,
Yes.
know exactly what's going on down here in Mississippi,
Oh, yes.
and what's going on over at that governor's mansion.
Right, especially the governor's response to the feds coming in. You know, I welcome them because
Horrible.
Jackson's leadership is just so incompetent. Well, that's not necessary. That's not necessary. Even if he thought it, he shouldn't have said it. But he shouldn't think it because it's not true.
It's not true, and I think what the feds are really doing is they're circumventing him
Yes.
and his ability to drag the city.
Exactly.
You know,
Right. How do we get a solution here
yeah,
when the state is in the way?
yeah.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
city is in need and the state is in the way. So the feds have to come in and try to circumvent.
I know a lot of our viewers have heard it, but you know, I've met people down here that for the last 30 years they've been drinking bottled water,
Yeah.
not because there wasn't water coming out of the tap, but they just didn't trust it.
Right.
And that's boy, when you think about something fundamental, air,
Yes.
water, sewer,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
food.
Right, right. And then the sewer system's so messed up now, and now we have open sewage rolling down the street, and
Yeah.
you know.
Mr. Williams saying he didn't betray us. It's a business move. Why stay? Why stay when your stock is this high and can't get any higher? They don't hire new coaches with losing records. Yeah. And Kim Lewis says, I prefer the feds. And yeah, I think we're with you. You're on point. Jackson's leadership is incompetent and the governor is crap. I don't know if we really said that.
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
We didn't. I know. Let's make that clear. We did not say that. We said that Jackson's leadership is competent. They're more than competent, but they have so much to overcome.
Yes.
And when the state is standing in the way all the time,
Yeah.
you know, it's making it impossible.
You know, if you think the Jackson leadership is incompetent, go read the mayor's 5-year strategic plan that he put in place and ask yourself, you know, is this somebody that truly is trying to elevate this community? And I believe if you go and read that plan, and I'm not saying everything is working by plan, but now and then on the city council, God knows we got a lot of different personalities there
Right.
and things going on, but
Right.
so
I think that we as citizens of Jackson must support Jackson. Each of us in our own little way should support Jackson. That means not littering, or you see paper on the street, pick it up yourself and throw it away.
yeah.
That type of thing. Look
Yeah.
out for your neighbors, you know.
Kim Lewis said the governor is crap. Just in case we weren't clear on that the first time. And Miss Irby's saying, vote those people out of office. Do you have civics classes in your high schools? And oh my gosh, what a point that is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure a lot of folks in elected positions really grasp the basics of that.
Right.
Jackson should have a strong mayor and city manager form of government. A lot of people talk about that, Mr. Lewis, switching it over from the mayor council to the mayor city manager form of government. That we may do better if we do that. I'm still trying to figure out how in the city of Jackson, Mississippi, that we for the last two. Now I know it's only a 1-year term, the council presidency,
Right. Right.
but the last two have been white people.
Right.
And certainly the one that's in there now is a Republican. And he was nominated by a black Democrat.
Yes.
So I'm not sure I grasp all that.
I don't either.
I'm not sure that all those people go to sleep at night truly invested in the city improving.
Right.
Yeah. I wish I was more.
I think it all depends on what neighborhoods you live on.
The state government is one-sided. Just look at the works, at the words that he speaks. Yes, no doubt. And did a number on we talked about that, I think it was on Friday. He did a number on when they signed that consent decree. Mm-hmm. He just did a number on the mayor. I mean, and for the first time ever that I've heard, the governor said, well, people that really care about Jackson. Well, I've never heard you say that you care about it.
Right, yes, yes.
But, I mean, they have him on tape like 10 to 12 years ago, saying that when Jackson put in bond requests to get money for different projects, that they would meet behind closed doors, not even have formal meetings for a vote, and just meet behind closed doors and decide for themselves. And now that's the guy that's the governor now,
right?
But was involved, connected, to the bond commission 10 years ago or 11 years ago or something like that, admitting that, I never did vote no against giving money to Jackson. P.S. We just decided not to bring it up for a vote.
Okay.
That's why we're sizzling in Mississippi.
That's it.
That's why we're sizzling in Mississippi. City manager works for the mayor but protects the city constituents' money. Yes, sir. You think the city council member take turns being present, and it was his turn. Well, yeah, but there's 3 other people that had not been. Right. So I don't know. Maybe you're exactly right, Mr. Williams. I want to look into that more. And how do people? It's the mayor nor governor care. It's about them. Yeah. And how do people listen to state leaders who are the worst leaders by history? Mississippi is a welfare state.
It's true that we get more money from the federal government than any other state.
Come to find out, it looks like in this year, 2022.
Yes.
Because 2021, Mississippi at 44%. So if you can imagine, 44% of the money that comes into your bank account every year was from the federal government. That's the way it is. Right. Now, New Mexico is emerging. I think we're going to get nudged into second place as a welfare state.
But, I wonder now with income tax being eliminated, personal income tax, what is that going to do for us?
And nobody ever talks, Mati, nobody ever talks about the state debt. Yeah. The poorest state in the country, the state with the highest poverty rate in the country is indebted $4 billion. Guess what the debt service this year on $4 billion is?
How much?
$434 million just to service the debt.
Yes.
Amazing. Well, we did it again. The time flies. We're running out of time. We're still waiting for a call-in. Our call-in number is 1-800-492-5186. We love you all in the chat. We're going to take a break for a couple commercials, and we'll be right back with you.
Let's read and learn together. Meet Mason. Written by Sherry Tate. Illustrated by David. Mason is a young learner. Watch him as he uses his 5 senses to explore the world around him. Your young one can learn to identify shapes, numbers, letters, and more with Meet Mason. Available now on Amazon.com.
The Mississippi Link is an African American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, Keepers of the Knowledge for People Who Speak the Truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
And welcome back. Welcome back to We Believe Digital and Sizzling in Mississippi. Broadcasting live to you from downtown Jackson, Mississippi. A lot of people say the heart of the deep, deep South. And just another comment here, 2 comments. The mayor office is a C+ executive position. Our people need to stop electing a mayor based on popularity. And there's also, oh boy, and then there's also based on popularity or rather than experience, and then absolutely, and you see who they are for, and you see who they are not for. That's for sure. So many people interested in a takeover. You hear that all the time. Yeah. That's facts, because that's where the majority of the tax base is. That why I asked the lady host about who putting out a limit on eliminating personal tax. I don't think it's a good idea to eliminate.
It's terrible.
It's a major stream of income.
It is.
And you're the poorest state in the country. Right. You're in debt. You're permanently, what do they call that when you latch on to the breast?
Yeah.
Isn't that called latching on?
Yes.
They latching on to the breast of the federal government.
Right.
Just about, more than any other state in the country.
Absolutely.
And then you got the welfare scandal
right
in the middle of this, turning $94 million of people for the poorest families in Mississippi
right.
into a slush fund.
Right. Right.
Well, if we shift gears a little bit, Monty, every so often you hear, and I really heard the term the first time from a Reverend Barber. And I know a lot of people have different thoughts about Reverend Barber, the Poor People's Campaign, repairers of the breach. But he's come here now 3 times. Yes. 3 times, and he brought the whole road show, camped out right outside the governor's mansion, yes. talking about suffocating the city of Jackson.
Right.
What say you about that? What thoughts come to mind when you think about suffocating the city of Jackson?
Well, it is, when you look at all areas of human interaction, mm-hmm. in Jackson, we're suffocating. Mm. We have limited resources mm-hmm. that are being even closed off more. You have anti-critical race theory. Mm. You have the postpartum care debacle where they refuse to accept monies from the federal government to save lives.
And remember, to add to your list, remember when the judge put the stop on that $10 million
right.
that was going to predominantly to private schools, so they disenfranchised the school system.
Right. They disenfranchise everything. Medicine, education.
We have hospitals closing.
Yes.
Going out of style.
Yes. Yeah. Limited resources for the hospitals, services that the hospitals once gave, different hospitals no longer providing.
And in some of the worst spots, like Merit Health,
right,
closed up that, what was that, a neonatal?
Yes.
Or in South Jackson.
Right.
And they're operating off their own economics, but right. I mean, the people.
Right.
The people in South Jackson, is it fair to say certainly South and West Jackson,
right.
the poorest parts of
right.
the city?
Yeah. They didn't have pillows in their emergency room.
Merit Health.
Yes.
Mm.
I said, are you kidding me?
Mm.
And then you lay in this room and say, okay, you have a television, but no remote control. Mm-hmm. Well, if you want the channel change, you have to call the nurse to change the channel. A nurse, this is her duty. I mean, she has to take care of patients.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And too, with the water, I mean, you know, there's just evidence. I mean, many mayors have gone back and been quoted and found that, yes, indeed, they submitted strategic plans,
Yes.
asked for infrastructure upgrades, requested bond.
Yes.
There's a name,
Initiatives,
and
yeah.
thank you, and goes but turned down or only given a fraction of what was asked for.
Right.
And so, and
That's
again,
not
of course, when we say water, we're also saying water and sewer.
Right.
You know, and another thing too, you know, it's always been a tough one for me, this whole trash contract down here. And again, another way to suffocate the city, you have for 35 years, you have a multinational corporation, Waste Management, God bless them, you know, over $4 billion a quarter, you know, of revenues. And they didn't want to let loose. So that, I wonder what was so important about the Jackson trash contract. They didn't want to let one little
Right.
city go.
Right.
And when a black contractor comes up here from New Orleans
Right.
and Baton Rouge, thank you for those stars, people, and coming up here and tries to do business,
Right.
you have a lockstep, a trio of black city councilmen
Yeah.
saying, no.
Right. But he's saving us $1 million a month. Think of what we can do with that.
Yeah, $1 million a year, and
No, it's $1 million a month. It's $12 million a year.
I apologize. So and you got 3 African American city council members in lockstep on every vote saying, don't do it.
Yeah.
And then of course you get the white Republican current president of the council,
Yes.
you know, and there's your majority.
Right.
Yeah, interesting. And that type of thing contributes to the city suffocating.
Right.
Because that man said that the vast majority of his jobs for waste collection
Yes.
would be full-time jobs or even part-time jobs, but still with benefits.
Right. Yeah.
How do you raise a family? How do you raise children? How do you put food on the table
Right.
when inflation is high,
Right.
when you're not paying people benefits?
Right.
When you go into temp agencies and
Right.
getting people.
Right. And I've talked to some of the employees on the routes, and they are very happy to work with Richards. They're glad to be a part of it, and they want to keep the contract going because it's providing for their families, and we really don't have a great alternative to
Yeah.
give anyone else.
That's
you know,
right. That's right.
our jobs are in short supply in terms of those that are gainfully meaningful.
Yeah. Mr. Lewis said, Chris, it's all about the money. You know, it just hit me. We didn't even introduce ourselves tonight, Joni.
Oh.
Brian and Reeves, yeah. I hope I didn't miss any comments in the. We love the conversation in the comments. We appreciate you all greatly. Yeah, we need everybody to follow the list. The list is simple. Like it, subscribe it, share it with your friends,
Yeah.
and donate if possible.
Yes.
I think I just let another one slide right by there, Monty. People need to read W.E. Du Bois, The Talented Tenth. It's the only way we can actually move Jackson from a state of survival to a state of stability. Thank you for the stars, people.
Okay. Yes.
And then we as new African people will not be safe by the government, but by our own revolution and put our resources and minds together to build our own communities. Well, but build our own communities and not this American way that's been bred into our minds and been brainwashed. You know, so many times, you know, people want to talk about the voter apathy.
Right.
Another dimension of what suffocates
Yes.
our city and our county.
Right.
And yet you know I'm not sure I got anything to say about that.
Well, the thing is, we have to have grassroots organizing at this point. When we don't have money, then we have to substitute that with a personal commitment by every citizen of Jackson to say, I'm going to do something for Jackson for free.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this show is part of what we're doing, trying to elevate things to a level. And I have see little bits of evidence that we're getting seen well outside the Jackson area in different states and so forth. And whatever leverage, whatever impact, anything that we do in a show could help bring about change in this state.
Right.
You know, and back to these this voter apathy for a second. I mean, how many times you're going to punch somebody in the face? How many times you're going to kneel on somebody's neck before the voters say, the heck with it. They're going to do what they're going to do anyway. Why bother?
Right.
And I'm not sure. I don't like saying this, but I'm not sure I have anything to say back.
I know. I continue to vote.
Me too.
And I don't ask myself why. I just
You
sort
just
of do
do
it. Yeah.
It's
I think local elections are more important to our everyday lives than national, but I think it's important to continue to vote, but do not think that that's enough. It's not enough to just vote.
It's not enough.
No. We have to organize and block by block look out for children in the neighborhood, look out for the elders. They may need water, and they may not have transportation or ability to get it, so go out and get it for them. You know, you see litter out on the street, pick it up. Yeah.
And you know, another thing, and the comment by this gentleman earlier, or I think it was a gentleman, I'm not sure. Yes, Mr. Myers. We as new African people, battery running low, okay. Very good. Government, our people. You know, one of the things that we should talk about on the show sometime, Mati, is this concept of the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. The party of Fannie Lou Hamer. Right. Sometimes I ask, now it's only active right now, and it is active right now in Holmes County, the only county in the state where it's active. But I have the bylaws on my desk, and I've got them almost mostly converted over to Hinds County, and we could apply, you know, to have a chapter, if you will, in this municipality. And sometimes I wonder, you know, could this possibly help us? Could we harness, and I've told you a million times, I'm a dreamer. I mean, I'm willing to do anything it could take, but you don't want to mess up either.
Right.
You know, you don't want to make something worse than it already is.
Right.
But is it possible that this Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party would give people a different alternative, and we can harness those energies of Fannie Lou Hamers and the Freedom Riders and, you know, Stokely Carmichael and Hollis Watkins and James Meredith and, you know, and we can... And so many others, and we could bring back that spirit and give people something to truly believe in, and be electing our own leaders, no doubt, from the get-go.
Right.
Those are our people, and we believed in them.
Yes.
They're not going to turn their backs on us.
Right. Maybe that would help. But I know that each one of us must do something.
We must.
Other than complain, we have to do something.
Yes. Well, we're starting to wrap up, folks. We're getting the the signal, and this laptop is just killing me over here, and because the buttons are not this big, you know, they're tiny. But we are so glad you joined us for this special All Eyes on Thee. Sizzling in Mississippi episode.
The I love.
Like our one of our producers, Dex is on the ones and twos tonight, but Ariel, she's always, you know, she reminded me today in a very strong voice, you know, about changing minds and changing lives since 1877. I just got 2 snaps on that. So anyway, we're doing our thing here. We're so glad you're joining us. We'll be with you all this week, 6 p.m. live. If your schedule doesn't allow, just pick it up at a time that's convenient. Just jump into YouTube, We Believe Digital Podcasts, or Facebook, We Believe Digital. Just click on the recent videos, and there we are. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for another wonderful show.
Thanks,
We're kind of
Chris.
doing this thing.
Yes,
I'm really delighted with it.
I'm excited.
Good. Okay, well, we'll see you tomorrow night at 6 p.m., everybody. Take good care out there and be sure to stay safe.
Turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking on the freedom land. Ain't gonna let injustice turn me around, turn me around. No, turn me around. Ain't gonna let injustice turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up the freedom.